couple of days last week, and then
Right.
then since the weekend, I just got back this afternoon, so.
No, I thought they were off last week when you were up there. And then I was talking to my friend Judy here, who has a sister and I guess niece with kids in New Hampshire. And she was saying they were off this week. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's different in different places.
Yeah. Well, they do try to stagger it. So, but yeah, they had this week off. I went last week because Esme was in the string orchestra at her high school, and she had a concert.
Oh, great.
And so I went and saw that. She plays, I said, did you take up the violin? She says, no, Nana, I play piano. It's a string instrument. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about it. So she was part of the orchestra. But this week it was, we went to the Peabody Essex Museum yesterday, and it was great. It's a beautiful museum. Yeah. So
where is that?
It's in Salem, Massachusetts.
Ah, okay. I've been to Salem, but I don't remember.
Oh yeah, no.
The museum.
I went a couple of times with Steve, long time ago. But it's a beautiful museum, and there was a big exhibit of Flemish art.
Oh.
There were Van Dycks and like some really prominent painters represented. So yeah, it was really a beautiful exhibit, and the whole museum is really nice. If you're ever around in the area, check it out.
The next time I go to Salem.
Yeah.
Stop by, right?
Did you have, was there snow to deal with when you were there?
Oh, had they had snow? No, they were experiencing this warm spell right now, but they had like a foot and a half at least still on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went up last week, it was almost 2 feet of snow on the ground up there. It was crazy. They just kept getting snow every time we had like a rainy or a sleety thing, they would have another like half a foot of snow every time. Yeah, it was big snow finally. Because the last couple of years, they didn't have much.
Yeah, I know. Nobody has really the last couple of years.
My grandson Jasper is in Iowa, and it was 10 below there.
Ooh.
He's doing a program through AmeriCorps, and they're in what was a school for the blind, I believe, and they have tunnels between the buildings.
Oh,
I remember Colgate had that.
Nice.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
But in 2 weeks, he's going to Michigan to do for a YMCA camp. He's doing trails and some other stuff at the camp. So hopefully it will be warm by then, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Tunnels sounds fun.
Right?
Yeah. Well, they get a lot of snow up there.
Yeah.
Romy went to Syracuse, and it was like I just couldn't believe how much snow they got. Really.
Hello, Judy.
Oh, goody.
Hello.
Good.
So we're just kind of getting started, checking in.
Okay, I'm just gonna put my Bible and come right back. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, are we reading the Bible?
Yeah.
Seems like a long time.
I don't know.
Reading the New York Times.
Oh, don't do that.
I do.
It's depressing. Hey.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm going to say, is it 78 tonight, the long one?
That's what I show.
Good. Good, because I've spent some time in it today, and I just was hoping that I wouldn't find out that that's for next week. But it's a long psalm.
Very long.
And just as a preface to it is, it's a bit of a history recital of everything that God has done up until the writing of the psalm to teach the way of God, to invite the followers to be faithful, and a document of both their instructions and their failures. So it's why it's long. It's like a salvation history psalm. But I think it might be interesting for us to read it and see if it squares up with what we were taught in Sunday school.
Oh.
So, would someone like to take a stab at it? And maybe you want to split it in half, because it really is long.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll read the first half.
All right, so you read the verse 30,
Okay.
and then somebody can pick up at 31.
I can read, but my Bible is this medieval Bible that,
Wow.
but
It's good to hear a different version.
yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
I do like to listen to the,
We're all very tolerant. Yes, of funny words. Okay.
So Judy, if you read the 31 to 51, and then Barbara, will you read 52 to 72?
you're really breaking it up. Why
Yeah.
not?
20 verses each,
Good.
except for Debbie. She reads a longer part.
Yeah, I spoke too soon. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Give ear, O my people, to my teaching. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings from old, things that we have heard and known that our ancestors have told us. We will not hide them from their children. We will tell to the coming generation the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might, and the wonders that he has done. He established a decree in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our ancestors to teach to their children, that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and rise up and tell them to their children, so that they should set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and that they should not be like their ancestors, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation whose heart was not steadfast, whose spirit was not faithful to God. The Ephraimites, armed with the bow, turned back on the day of battle. They did not keep God's covenant and refused to walk according to his law. They forgot what he had done and the miracles that he had shown them. In the sight of their ancestors, he worked marvels in the land of Egypt, in the fields of Zon. He divided the sea and let them pass through it, and made the waters stand like a heap. In the daytime, he led them with a cloud, and all night long with a fiery light. He split rocks open in the wilderness and gave them drink abundantly as from the deep. And he made streams come out of the rock and caused waters to flow down like rivers. And yet they sinned still more against him, rebelling against the Most High in the desert. They tested God in their heart by demanding the food they craved. They spoke against God, saying, "Can God spread a table in the wilderness? Even though he struck the rock so that the water gushed out and torrents overflowed, can he also give bread or provide meat for his people?" Therefore, when the Lord heard, he was full of rage. A fire was kindled against Jacob. His anger mounted against Israel because they had no faith in God and did not trust his saving power. Yet he commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven. He rained down on them manna to eat and gave them the grain of heaven. Mortals ate of the bread of angels. He sent them food in abundance. He caused the east wind to blow in the heavens, and by his power he let out the south wind. He rained flesh upon them like dust, winged birds like the sand of the seas. He let them fall within their camp, all around their dwellings, and they ate and were well filled, for he gave them what they craved. But before they had satisfied their craving, while the food was still in their mouths,
the wrath of God came upon them and slew the fattest of them and smote down the chosen men of Israel. For all this they sinned still and believed not for his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after God. And they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their Redeemer. Nevertheless they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity, and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned he his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passeth away, and cometh not again. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness, and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted God, and limited the Holy One of Israel. They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, how he had wrought his signs in Egypt, and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and had turned their rivers into blood, and their floods that they could not drink. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble, by sending evil angels among them. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence.
He struck all the firstborn in Egypt, the first issue of their strength in the tents of Ham. Then he led out his people like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them in safety so that they were not afraid. But the sea overwhelmed their enemies, and he brought them to his holy hill, to the mountain that his right hand had won. He drove out nations before them. He appointed them for a possession, and settled the tribes of Israel in their tents. Yet they tested the Most High God and rebelled against him. They did not observe his decrees, but turned away and were faithless, like their ancestors. They twisted like a treacherous bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places. They moved him to jealousy with their idols. When God heard, he was full of wrath, and he utterly rejected Israel. He abandoned his dwelling at Shiloh, the tent where he dwelt among mortals, and delivered his power to captivity, his glory to the hand of the foe. He gave his people to the sword, and vented his wrath on his heritage. Fire devoured their young men, and their girls had no marriage song. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Lord awoke as from sleep, like a warrior shouting because of wine. He put his adversaries to rout. He put them to everlasting disgrace. He rejected the tent of Joseph. He did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but he chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loves. He built a sanctuary like the high heavens, like the earth, which he has founded forever. He chose his servant David and took him from the sheepfolds. From tending the nursing ewes, he brought him to be the shepherd of his people, Jacob, of Israel, his inheritance. With upright heart, he tended them and guided them with a skillful hand.
Is that a psalm?
It sure is a
Yes.
psalm, yep. But as I said, it's a recitation of their history. It's a telling of the history and documenting the stories that they've heard, but perhaps never heard them all together. By the way, hello, Colette.
Yes.
Right.
That is Psalm 78 that we were listening to. Any comments, things that you heard that were different than you expected?
Just reading the commentary, it says it's a teaching of hope in the goodness of God and a warning of the consequences of continual disobedience.
Yeah. You know, thank you for reading it, by the way. All three of you did a great job in reading it, because as you were reading it, I was reminded of how in the African American tradition, when the preacher is preaching, you're surprised sometimes about how quickly the preacher moves from a sermon about today to a lesson from the past, and how the summation of what the preacher's trying to say is always trust in the Lord in all your ways. Remember when God has been faithful in the past, and then the story rolls out about, you know, when the waters were parted and the waters went up. And in the style of black preaching, this is it's a stylistic thing for how a pastor ends their sermon. They always end their sermons with a recitation of the deeds of God in the past and an encouragement to remember not to lose trust in God, and to know that, you know, if you do, life isn't going to get easier for you. If you wander away from God, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. And to remember that God literally isn't always ready to reject his children, but there were times when they were so contrary and so rebellious, he had to throw food down their throats. You know, it's like there's a violence of God which says, I'm going to give you so much meat you won't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But it was frustration. God gets frustrated with human beings.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, I was thinking about our present administration when I read the second part of all the things that God objected to and what he was provoked to do. And somehow I thought, okay, that there will be some kind of a meeting out of justice. I don't know when and how and what it'll look like, but I thought about it in this last part, you know, that if this continues the way it is, that, you know, that maybe that's what will happen. We'll have a very angry God, and some of the things that, the absence, for example, of the CDC communication and the emergence of the avian flu, and I don't know, this whole last section that Barbara read, I think about that, you know, what will happen with all this activity? Will there be justice, and will it be coming from God, and what will it look like? Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. As I'm reading it, I'm constantly self-diagnosing these days. I'm trying to figure out what is going on with me. And so as I come to this passage, and just see how this lands with you, and just, you know, give me your feedback. I feel like I was unaware of how much I trusted in the structure of my government. I was unaware of it. I really was. I just had no idea. Like, I breathe in, there's oxygen in the air. I breathe out, and I'm good. And there's so much I take for granted, and I'm aware that day by day, almost hour by hour, another pillar is taken out from under my sense of confidence. And it's about the plan, which isn't, you don't have to be an enemy, just like that's what they're saying. This country is too dependent upon their government. We're too dependent upon, other people to do all kinds of things, and it costs all kinds of money, so we're going to stop it. And one of the things that's going on in my head is, what is life going to be like when all of that is gone? And, go ahead.
No, I was just responding. Dystopian.
Yeah. Well, and it feels a little remote for me because a lot of what they're taking away, at least in my conscious mind, I'm not all that dependent upon. Like, I'm not well into the heels of Medicare yet. In May, I begin getting Social Security, but I'm not dependent upon it. Now, if I think about it more, I think, yeah, but I really am dependent. When I go to sleep at night, I'm dependent upon the idea that I live in a country that's well defended, and that I don't have to worry about invasions, and I don't have to worry about bombs dropping. But then I think, okay, that's faith in my government, right? That's trusting in my government. I trust in my government. I really do. And so then the question becomes, if that's taken away, and certainly a lot of the world's population live without any of that. Mm-hmm. So if that's taken away, I'm experimenting here. I feel more naked in the call to trust God.
I think God's calling us now to do what's right, to stand up and fight back, and not just to be complacent. Like, I get what you're saying, and I think there was a lot of complacency because we expected our government to work its checks and balances, and it did so for over 250 years. And there were times when it got close to anarchy, but not, not like this. This is just, I think I really started to worry when the Supreme Court got knocked down. Then your last hope of fighting back against a despot is kind of on the way out. And they have been working hard at it ever since, and quickly. Yeah. But the thing I think I'm most upset about is I'm ashamed to be an American.
Right.
I mean, he just extorted precious metals from Zelensky. He forced him to say he'd give in and sign over the mineral wealth of their country. To this jerk. And what does it do for us? What does it do? How does it, our allies they can't trust us. I can't trust us. I'm ashamed.
There was something on the internet. I don't know if it was a hockey match or a ball game and did you see it in the anthem?
Yeah, it was ice hockey.
Everybody booed the anthem.
Oh yeah, because we want to make
Canadians.
Yeah, we want to make Canada a 51st state. I mean, my goodness, where will we go? We need Canada, but it's gone beyond funny now. I don't know if anybody. I was away, so I recorded the Daily Show last night, and if you saw it. Jon Stewart got he's funny, and he's still being funny, but he's so outraged. He had a mug, and he smashed it, and he cut his hand, and it bled through the whole show. He just sat there with a bloody hand. And frankly, that's what I feel like.
Yeah, me too.
But where is God? God, help us. And God is saying, help your damn
Yeah,
selves.
right.
Come on.
It's funny, I was watching,
God gave us what we need. Now we have to figure out how to use it.
I was watching John Oliver, and I thought to myself, it's people like that, John Oliver and Jon Stewart, and who's the other one? There's another one on too. That the comedians who are really saying out loud, a lot of the cowardly Republicans, are not saying. I mean, they're saying it, shouting it out, and in a humorous way, but they're getting people to listen, and they are outraged, and that's what we should all be, yeah. But I think until a group really becomes outraged, I don't think any action can take place. The thing that is buoying me is that I think that there are spots now of outrage. And then there's Bernie Sanders, good old Bernie Sanders, and and maybe rage will lead to leadership. I don't know, because we need leadership now, and we need a plan, and but I feel as though it's just beginning to dawn on people exactly what this administration is all about. Yeah. Because
But I think also that, it's hopefully going past preaching to the choir, because we've felt this way all along. But, listening to farmers on the radio this morning about, how what is going on is affecting them. And, that it's not just the other who's being affected. And I think that's the only way something is going to happen, is when enough people are affected. I mean, every federal employee who, there's a lot of federal employees all over the country, and their families, the farmers, on and on about who is being affected by all of these, every group, every ethnic group that thought they were safe. No one is safe anymore.
Hello, Melinda.
Where is she?
Can you hear me, Melinda?
I can hear you. I was on mute and couldn't find the mute button. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Melinda.
Hello. Yeah.
We're complaining again.
That's okay. We're in good company. Complain on.
So we're digesting the ethos that's created by Psalm 78, and the whole of it, the gist of it, is to remind us that we didn't just get dropped on this planet. There's a history. There's a salvation history of God. I keep thinking of that phrase, God didn't bring us this far to leave us alone. God didn't bring us this far to drop us and abandon us. And the writer of the Psalms is, on the one hand, trying to correct bad behavior on the part of the faithful people, but also trying to stir a deep and abiding faith that will carry us through difficult times. And the pattern for the Hebrews and even for the Christian church has been then do a recitation of the events of salvation history. Recite the events. Tell them to your children. Tell them that they can trust God to be present when the time is right, and not to give up hope. And I think, that's a great word for these days. I said, I'm grieving in the middle of trying to be angry and get myself organized for what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm a mouthpiece, so I'm trying to tell the story and trying to speak. The soloist this past Sunday sang an anthem called Speak Now. And
she was so good.
oh, weren't they good? And And that comes out of the Martin Luther King and the nonviolent resistance to use your voice, to speak, to say what needs to be said. I'm going to share with you my worry today, okay? And I'm trying to avoid the news. I am. But I'm trying to look for places where I can, I'm responding to the surveys, I'm calling the White House. My worry is that in the last couple of days in particular, it's become clear that this band of takeovers know the history. That if you want to do a deconstruction of a government, you have to have the military behind you. Mm-hmm. And they made their moves. They are making their moves.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is, we've never really had to worry about the U.S. military being used to suppress, everybody says, oh, let's get together and, we'll have demonstrations. Well, one of the things that really quells demonstrations is when the military comes out and gets to be used against people who refuse to knuckle under for what the despot and the tyrants are trying to say. Okay. And I see them moving the pieces on the chessboard to be able to do exactly that.
The only thing is, Lou, I think that that the opponent on the chessboard also has a hand to play. And I think the fact that there are cuts now in Veterans Affairs, which will affect people in the military, and also the firing of the chiefs of staff and the admiral and the Coast Guard, so that if you're, and I think I read someplace that the military doesn't really have to listen to. It was something that I wanted to think about, to think it was real. But I thought those two things. I mean, if you're really taking away benefits from people who have fought and died for this country, I don't think even if you're a young soldier in the military, that really will sing well. And also that if you're, in the military, you look at the people who are your generals and you see that they're being fired for no reason at all. I guess the question is, how independent are they, or can they be in terms of their thinking? Because these are behaviors that are happening and they can see them, they can feel them, and then what do they do with them?
More sinister is the fact that not only did they fire generals and admirals, a female admiral, all the top personnel, and replace them with less capable personnel. Yeah. They also tellingly fired JAG members, the jurists in the military, so that when people in the military bring suit when they've been wronged, they've got now attorneys in the military. Attorneys will act just like his stacked Supreme Court. They're not doing things stupidly.
No.
But what they're doing is throwing up a lot of diversionary crap so that we take our eyes off the really important stuff and pay no attention to that, or little attention. Like this week, what did he say the other day? We got to go check to see if there's gold at Fort Knox. Yeah. And now people will get emotional about, like, oh, who stole the gold? Did Biden steal the gold? Instead of looking at what he's doing, that it's really going to have an effect on ruining the democracy. And that's what they want to do, because he's got Putin and the other dude from Hungary. They did the same kind of junk, and he's following their playbook. And you can see exactly how, like they did it in Hungary, he's doing it here. He's going after the press. The other night, too, my daughter said, oh, did you see Joy Reid got fired from MSNBC? I was like, what?
Yeah.
How? When the most left-leaning TV commentary shows fire one of their best reporters, what does that tell you? They've gotten really far into this jazz here. The best part, I think, of this Psalm 78, where it says God took compassion on them because he realized they're only flesh.
Right.
And they'll blow away in a generation and never be heard from again. And I'm thinking, that sounds, I don't know if that's compassionate or not, but there is an end. Let's see what happens. And I think we do need to help ourselves and try to remember that God does have compassion and God is on our side. And justice, the arc bends towards justice, I hope. And I hope we can, this is our hour to stand up and do something, and let's not let it pass.
When you speak of compassion, I have been for the past 3 weeks calling the White House.
Well, sorry for you.
I call and I stay on the line for about 10 minutes, then I get tired of waiting. And you can leave a message, but I figure that's not, now, I don't think any of it, it's just making me feel like, okay, I've got to do something other than preach to the choir, but I can't go out and preach to the other. Anyway, I'm trying to be compassionate. So I finally got through today. And I said, and they said it's a volunteer comment group, but it took 10 minutes. And I finally said, my message is that I hope he will have compassion for all of God's children. So I gave my name. Of course, I said I was calling from Florida. And the person who answered just said, thank you for your call. And we appreciate your comments. And then the other day, because I also have been emailing and leaving messages, the same message, and I got in, would you like to get notices from the White House?
No.
I said, yes.
You did.
And
I said,
yesterday, got something about would I like text messages?
Oh, no.
Said, no.
No, thanks. Oh,
But no, I just, I've done 2 marches. I signed up for next marches for Ukraine. I keep pushing that button for petitions. Mm-hmm. And, trying to find positive stuff. And today I watched, I did send something out just about Bell Hooks, who I had never really heard about. I heard the name before, but I had no idea who she was. And I'm thinking, how did I miss this person? She sounds phenomenal. And then I watched the PBS special about becoming Bell Hooks. But in the email I sent, she felt herself to be a Christian Buddhist. And she believed that by connecting with our suffering, the suffering of our ancestors and the world's suffering, we can open our hearts to love and compassion. And so, it's just, I've got to, I don't know how people who have suffered through political, racial, sexual, all the things that people have gone through that I've never had to have happen to me. How do you stay resilient?
Right.
But this passage talks about when God got angry enough, he took a lot of actions against these people. And somehow I keep thinking that, these people have performed a coup. And I think to myself that maybe that has to happen again, only we have to commandeer a coup. I keep thinking that there's got to be some toughness, some energy, look at all the actions that God took when he was angry. And that's why I keep thinking that you can't be silent, you can't be complacent, you can't accept something that's unacceptable. And maybe the only way would be if it was some kind of coup or underground movement, or I think I said it before, government in exile. Some other lightning rod that has to be created in order for this to go away.
Well, I don't know, but this is what I think about that, okay? The idea of, an alternative government or underground government. My worry is that with the amount of power that these people are gathering at the top, they will be like Putin and some other despots, and they won't care. Like you say, well, they're going to end all the benefits to the veterans. And we think, because we're still thinking with our old head, oh, that's going to matter, because in the government we've had, it has mattered if a lot of people got upset about something. But when there's a tyrant, they don't care that a lot of people are upset, and then they get mobilized to suppress the opposition. And that's why I said what I said about the interest they have in making sure, when Trump was elected last time, I rode the same confidence everybody else did, which was there's a lot of sane people and they're good guardrails. And there are people in all kinds of positions that are going to keep him on the true and the straight. They're gone. They will eventually all be gone. And now the reality is he will get to the point, or this program, these people will get to the point where they won't care how many people are upset by what they do. And they won't need to care as long as they have the one arm of the government, which is the military. If they can count on the military, they will begin to enforce what they're doing. We haven't seen any of that yet.
Not yet. But in Germany even, there were generals in their military that did try to take him down.
They did.
Yeah, individuals, that's right. There were some, but they also had massive troops to be able to create what they did. And you think, I've often thought, during the Third Reich, who were those people? Where was their consciousness? Where were the people that shoved people into the gas furnaces? Where was their humanity? What happened to those human beings? And how far can we be, I put it in the language of the Psalm, how far from God's intentions can we go as human beings? And evidently, we can go pretty far.
Oh, yeah.
We really can travel way off into the far country.
But it was a small group of energized people that could have taken him down. And even though those others outside that room and outside in the country, had they succeeded, that would have been it. It was the hub.
The whole one was up.
Yeah. That they got, that we have to get.
They're really acting on every front too, because I just heard on the news a short while ago that there's some new virus in Congo that's kind of like the Ebola. It causes internal bleeding, and it's new, so it's novel. We don't have any defenses against it, and it seems to act very quickly. Like you have symptoms, and then within a day or two later, you're dead. Now, we're not a member anymore of the World Health Organization.
Right.
They're the ones who are manning the front lines over there and trying to understand this new virus and how to keep it in check. But they're not going to get much help from us. It's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot in all directions. Health, in foreign relations, in internal nonsense. How much I just want to see how far we can stand here and I don't know.
But it has to be private groups. I saw something on the internet that was interesting. It was from the AMA, and it was, since you can't get any information, citizens out there from CDC anymore, we can let you know, what is. And I thought, okay, that is kind of, I just think that it's going to have to be a small group springing outside, that are going to have to take it down.
Hopefully. There are a lot of Republican legislators who are off now, and they've gone back to their constituents, and they're packing these meetings, even in red states with where the Republicans are in power, in charge, and they're getting an earful, that's for sure. And I know that, not everybody in that audience is a Democrat. There's a lot of Republicans, even like Barbara said, even the farmers are starting to hurt. They see what's coming, and I think people are starting to actually understand some of what's happening. And I think if enough of us get together, we did manage to fight back the McCarthy era and get rid of those folks.
It took 5 years.
It took 5 years, but
we did it. Yeah.
We have the internet now, right? Maybe we can do it faster. I don't know. I don't know why I'm optimistic. I just feel like, most stories we enjoy, there's good guys and bad guys, and the good guys usually win. So I'm still staying optimistic. I don't know.
Just depends on how long you're willing to wait.
That's true.
Because, this hasn't even arrived yet. This is still arriving. I picture it, like when there are invasions and these big ships pull up on the shores, and the invasion is happening. It hasn't happened yet, but it is happening. Mm-hmm. And the question of what are our defenses, we don't have a lot of defenses against ourselves. We don't. Right. This is us attacking us. And in the meantime, we're also disavowing any connection. I as a pastor, so Judy, your comment about it's going to be, small groups, I think the church is going to have to play a really big role here. Mm-hmm. I think congregations of faith are going to have to play a very large role. We have relationships that span the continents. We're not, we can speak internationally. We can build international coalitions. We have a lot of what they're taking apart grew out of initiatives of Christians and of religious people to form alliances and friendships among the nations. It's like...
Didn't the Episcopal bishop stand up when, I can't remember her name, when the bishop, remonstrated him because, just give mercy, and she used that word, and he wanted her to apologize for using the word, and they supported her, and they, made a noise about it. So I think you're right. And didn't the Catholic Church also, and some small...
The Pope,
The Pope has spoken out.
quite an encyclical about it.
But now he's in the hospital. Is that God or is that which side? I don't know. He's actually starting to hold his own. I hope he hangs around for a bit more. Right. He's been a good voice. But I enjoyed the video that you sent, Barbara, with the Unitarian Church in D.C.
All right.
And they had beautiful voices too. And it wasn't the usual "hey, hey, ho, ho." It was a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And they were
singing outside a metro station and supporting the federal workers. Now, my son, I asked him if he had written his 5 reasons what he did last week, because he works for the patent office. And he said that he did get the email, but then he got an email from whoever's in charge of the patent office to ignore the email.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, he texted me about something else today. So as far as I know, he still has a job. And my grandson is working for AmeriCorps in Iowa now. So I'm thinking I have two people working for the federal government. Hopefully, that's the thing. It's not just me. It's millions of people who have connections. And if it's not the federal government, it's something that's being impacted by the federal government, whether it's a farmer or whatever. This is not. It's not just them over there that are getting. This is hurting. It's hurting us.
The models that are being shared behind the closed doors of these ideologues who are running this, we don't hear the metaphors, but some of the metaphors are: America is a bloated nation. It's way overweight. And they are sending America to fat camp. I mean, and they know there's going to be howling and screaming and all kinds. They know. They're telling each other. Mm-hmm. There are going to be revolutions in the streets, but everything that we're doing is for the good of the American people.
That's baloney. The government is to give service to the people. That's the function of government, to give service, not to make a profit, not to fatten corporations and already, billionaires and like Jon Stewart said last night, what they're doing, picking off workers who need the work and who are America, and providing services that we all depend on, that's a drop in the bucket. They lied about how much money they're saving so far by billions of dollars.
Right.
They're lying, and in the meantime, nobody's paying attention to all the trillions of dollars the government gives to the oil companies. They still get those breaks to provide oil that's killing us. And they're reaping those benefits. Big pharma, why are we paying the highest prices for pharmaceuticals in the entire world? Right? And we're subsidizing the big pharma, all the big pharmacy companies. We send them money. And we help them do their research. And then they charge us for research and development on top of it. They tell us they can't give us a break because, it costs money it makes no sense. And yet we still do it. We're doing all the wrong things. If you really want to save money, go there. That's where the big money is. How about all the military contracts, like the ones that SpaceX, Elon Musk has? They're not talking about them.
No.
That's where the big money is. The big money's not in the secretary in the CDC. The big money's there. But of course, they're not going to cut that. That's why they raised the debt limit to $4 trillion. Yes. They knew what they were going to do. Yes. They're going to raise money for the already wealthy and punish all the rest of us. And then they're going to tell us it's for our own good.
Yeah, there's no question. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just saying, it does set us off when we hear them say their ideas, but these are their ideas. This is it. They're the mother and father who've come around to say, now we're going to put some order in this house, and we're going to stop wasting, and we're going to start, I'm going to control, you can only run the water and brush your teeth for 3 minutes, and after that, we're going to shut it off, and there's austerity. It's an austerity program that is based on the idea that first of all, that the country of the United States has an illness, that we're bloated, that we, and none of it is required to be documented. None of it is proven, not in our circles. When they get together and talk, it's proven. But you're right, they don't talk about the subsidies that oil companies get to do their production. They don't, I've said in this Bible study before that, the farmer, American farmer, has had to deal with the fact that there's not much difference between the way an American farmer survives and the way a welfare mother in the inner city survives. There's not that much difference.
Right?
But in the mind of the farmer, oh, those grants for seed and fertilizer and all the rest of that, well, that's the cost of doing business. And then what's foisted on the single mom in the city, in the urban environment where it's very tough to survive, is, oh, well, if you need help, that's because you're weak. You know, we don't say that to the American farmer. We don't say to them, oh, you're weak. Why don't you raise your own seeds? You know, why don't you make your own fertilizer? But no, we don't. We have it's a bifurcated way of looking at this. And I think the part that would stir the ire of God is that we foist this injustice onto the weakest people, the least able to defend themselves. This is, you know, this isn't a fight among equals. This isn't a struggle among equals. This is veterans who I've already wondered how it is that people who risk their lives to go off to war and fight the wars, many of them wounded and disabled, and they come back to a meager life. How did we ever come to the point where we can say we don't need to worry about them? We don't have to take care of them. How do we get there? That's why I said I don't understand. I guess part of it is the question the psalmist asks is, how can people who have seen the waters part, you've seen the bread fall from heaven, you've seen the pheasants at your feet, you've seen water come rushing out of the rock, how does a people who has seen all the miraculous provision of God ever get to the point where they turn on the weak and the suffering and act as if they're the ones that have done all these things? We're the smart people.
Because they get us to be against each other, that it's the fear of the other. It's not just the fear of the billionaires, it's the fear of the welfare mother, and the fear of, you know, the farmer who's not going to give us the food, and the fear of the veteran who's going to take this. So it's infighting that will start happening.
And also, I think we missed an opportunity when they came out with the expression "Make America Great Again." Mm-hmm. We never stood back and really tore that assumption apart and said, "We mean again." You know, I mean, yes, we have all kinds of problems and issues, but when you compare the United States of America to so many other countries, why do people from all over the world want to come here if we are really such a hobbled, you know, country? Make America great again. You know, I just think it was, you know, we didn't think about it, but it's a travesty. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a violation of our history, you know, of the good things that we have done and where we are. And when we compare ourselves in so many different ways, you know, politically, socially, academically, scientifically, to the rest of the world, why do all these people want to come here if we are not great? And so, but somehow, oh, you know, it came out, you know, Make America Great Again, and you know, and whatever it was, and that enticed people to vote for him. You know, thought it was going to be great again, but it was not so terrible before. Yeah. And as a pastor, Lou, I think it must be very difficult. In going back to the Psalm, you know, when people say, well, if there's a God, you know, why? Why is this? Why? Yeah. Is it happening? Yeah.
By the way, I want to say hi to Alice. We didn't acknowledge you when you arrived. I don't know if you got your ears on or not, but anyway, I just want to say I'm glad you're here tonight with us as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm in the middle of a hairdo, so I'm listening.
Okay.
So,
You don't have to put your Your video's not on, so.
Yeah, I know, and that's very purposeful.
But we love hearing your voice.
Okay, I'm glad to be here.
I think, so Judy, part of what you're upset about is also true of the people in the psalmist's time, because you hear the psalmist says, get your history right. Get your history right. And politicians, not just today's politicians, but boy, politicians have always done this. They've always come along and they've said, oh, you don't know how bad you have it. And you need me to get involved in order to, help you to get something good out of this life, because you don't even realize it's bad.
Yeah.
And so, of course, after they're finished describing everything that's bad, then they insert themselves into your story as I will be the solution. I will be the one, that will fix this and will do this. And so the psalmist says, know your history.
That's right.
Know the history of this people, and know the mistakes that have been made, because we need to know the mistakes. When we lost our way, we've lost our way in the past, and I'm talking about the human race. I'm not talking about some small, select, favorite people of God. Know your story. Know what works. Know what leads to prosperity and to greatness. The Bible and the story of God with people defines greatness. Greatness is the same as the definition of love. It is to care for one another. It is to risk our own lives for the sake of another. This is greatness. It's not, and today greatness is being substituted with very sophisticated models of selfishness.
Oh, they're not even that sophisticated. When we can all see it, it ain't that sophisticated.
Well, I
They're
don't
just
mean
crooks.
sophisticated in terms of hiding. I mean well-developed. I mean
Oh,
very
they are.
well-developed ideas about selfishness. The whole concept of America first. Is, I always picture kids having to line up in preschool, and when the laziest kid gets up last and comes and pushes himself into the front of the line and says, I'm gonna be first.
Trump. That was Trump.
Yeah.
He actually did that what was it, in his first term at one of those NATO meetings.
Yeah.
He actually pushed other world leaders aside so he could step to the front. This tells you all you need to know about this childish man. And he's hired Musk to take the heat off him.
Yeah.
So everybody's mad at Musk while Trump can just sit back and play golf, but still have do what he wants. So, I mean, the guy isn't really stupid. He's stupid, but he's evil stupid.
Another thing we missed opportunity, there was Kamala Harris, okay? She was the opposition, and she was talking about joy. And if you vote for me, we'll bring back joy. Instead, to actually attack, their statement of make America great again, let's take pride what we've done. So, using pride and proud, and I would keep away from the word patriotism because they have seduced it and torn it apart. But other words, other language, other meanings of where we don't need to be great again, people. We just have to take pride in what and who we are. But we
have to be nice.
It's a lot of
But you see, that goes against the whole function of politics. I mean,
And what does the word pride mean?
Yeah.
Well,
pride in what?
Yeah,
Okay.
now that word is loaded. You can't even use that word. Oh,
language. We have to invent a new language. Words that haven't been used yet, with illustrations of what we mean. I know.
Either that, or we can load our conversations with the language of Jesus. Jesus says the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. How many times can we repeat that? You're gonna struggle to be first in this world? You're gonna be very disappointed, because all of your energy to be first, to be the first nation, to be the biggest, the best, and all the rest of that are gonna wind up with you at the end of the line. And Jesus says, if the last shall be first. And in whose mind? It may not be visible to you. You may walk down some of the more dangerous streets of Patterson or Newark or somewhere, and you might think these are the lowest people on earth. But if you get to know them and you see what's going on in community life among these people, you realize you don't know anything about what it means to be first, about how to live your life in a way that really produces real joy. I mean, I think the problem with Kamala Harris's phrase enjoy, and I caught it, I was like all about it. The problem is there are a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, who saw no reason to be joyful. They only saw the things that had been rolled in front of them by competitive politicians about rising costs and blah, blah, and all those. There's nothing to be joyful about. You're living with your head in the clouds, and you don't know how big of a problem we really have. And that's why when this guy Musk comes along and makes up the lie about the fact that, there's, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people who have been collecting Social Security since...
That are 150 years old.
150 years. And then somebody wrote in the margin, if we knew our history, we would know Social Security didn't even exist in 150 years ago. So the whole premise of they craft a lie, they polish a lie. We used to talk about, in debate class, you talk about polishing a turd. You have to take something that it stinks, it's horrible, it's whatever, and then you polish it up and you make it something as a weapon that helps you to act as if you have a stronger side in a debate. It's everywhere. And it grows because of our ignorance. It grows, our collective ignorance of the past. We have not learned, I'm not even talking about just Nazi Germany. We haven't learned the history of how we got where we are in the good places. And also, we haven't learned, you talked about the McCarthy era. We haven't really learned and incorporated the horribleness of some of the ideas that threatened the whole existence of the United States. The Civil War was not a happy time. It was, poor Abraham Lincoln, having to try to hold together a union of people who were desperate to kill each other.
Mm-hmm. I guess that kind of compares to now. Yeah. We forget that we did go through that.
And it's, it's rising. And
when you think about deporting, hundreds of thousands of people, why did these people come here? Why? Why did they come here? Because we were great, because we were a beacon, because we were a lighthouse, so that this whole stupidity of, again, the word again will make America again. But it was trampled. It was just, and it just, But when you really think about, the genesis of all of this and understanding, where do they get this expression from, and what are they basing it on? But it's all covered, with all what you're saying. We're going to make it. Prices are going to be going to go down, and all of the stuff that. Yeah. Sure. Hey, no, it wasn't good enough, but at least people weren't paying $20 for a carton of eggs. Yeah.
But that's, to me, that's politics. That's the way politics always works. The politician stands up and tells you that you you don't know how bad crime is. You don't really know how bad crime is. Out of control. It's out of control, and you need me to go into office and to get crime under control. That's politics is normal. And both sides do it. Both sides do that to win support. But we are in a different time. There's different things that are happening. Groups of people who got elected went into the offices they were elected to, and they set off bombs. And there's chaos. It's not an orderly, like, this is where we're headed to. It's chaos.
Has anyone heard that song that's going viral on the internet? It's a guy in a pink hoodie.
I saw it.
Did you? And I have the lyrics here, and I can sing. It's an earworm, so if you hear him sing it, you will repeat this on and on. And I'll try to sing it a little bit, but I'm not. But it's the words that matter. We're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I want to talk about it, but I'll be late for work. And if you say, wait a minute, who do we have to stop this? We had one, but you didn't want that lady in office. Now that we're a part of a Nigerian prince scam, surprise, surprise, it ended up being a white man. Oh, I just want to know, what the hell do I do? And then he says, drink. But and people have taken that over and put all different kinds of music behind it and everything. It's such a catchy. When I first saw it, I thought, oh my God, there's so many clever people fighting back in different ways. And if enough people, can catch the humorists or the musicians or the righteous anger in a lot of our politicians, because they're out there, there's got to be ways we can fight back, not like the January 6th people, but march with love. How about that? How about march to try and unite people in love instead of hate? I think that would be the one thing that might overcome this, Jazz.
Yeah, that was on John Oliver last night.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? That guy's terrific.
Pink hoodie. Yeah.
But there's lots of different ways that people are finding to shout out about this stuff. And I think if we just don't let the hate overtake us, we probably will have a better chance.
Yeah, I preached a sermon on Jesus' words to love your neighbor, to love your enemy. And I have to say, I don't have a problem with the idea that we're going to respond with love. But I want to know what you mean by love. Because to me, we got to take love out of its passive context. Like, oh, why can't we all just get along? I'm not going to get along. I'm not. I'm not able to get along with what's going on.
I agree. A fierce love, a love that causes you to come out and actively love each other. I'm going to stand up for you. You're my sister. You're my brother. I'm going to stand up for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to push back for you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
We sound like a bunch of hippies.
Yeah. Damn straight.
We haven't grown up yet.
No.
What else
We're
was
still in the 60s.
in the very beginning? We never heard the expression "America First." It was this other thing, "Make America Great Again," and then, all these slogans now, "America First," and now it's okay to be isolationist. I mean, look, we should be so. It creeps up on you.
Yeah, but what I want to say to you is, it is not new. If you go Google the phrase "America First," you will find it's saturated through politics, and also even "Make America Great Again." They didn't invent that phrase.
No. Yeah.
It's and it wasn't America. It's "Make Germany Great Again." There were exact same kinds of phrases that then opened the door for solutions. Hitler called the extermination of the Jews the final solution.
Yeah.
It was how to make Germany great again.
Deutschland über alles. And you
Yes,
know,
that's it.
Rachel Maddow wrote a whole book about the Make America Great Again and, the 1930s and how close we came then to the same kinds of chaos that we have now. So, I mean, it's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun, but
No, there's nothing new. So what we need to do is go back now and learn our history about the people who did make change, who were
Right.
able to stand up, who were able. That's why the song that was it Barbara that sang on was so meaningful to me that it came out of a movie about Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and their conferences together. Like, I want to absorb myself. I want to dissolve myself again in the mindset, because these were not passive people. They were not passive. They were active. They were not violent, and they were not hateful, but they were powerful in their refusal to accept what was being shoved down their throat. And the cops came out and beat them, and the military came against them, and the FBI, investigated them and harassed them and tried to destroy their lives. But they marched forward, not always in the streets, but they were resolute in refusing to accept this kind of greatness that was being pushed in America. Who was the vice president who came out who was hating the hippies? Was that Agnew?
Agnew.
And how, all these terrible, terrible thoughts about who the hippies were and what they were really about was just laziness and refusal to work and to, buy into the American system. This
Turn into now, drop out.
That's right. That's right. And so if this is I don't know, maybe we had the luxury of being able to fall asleep at the wheel a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have to so individually, consciously. We had good people putting together good programs, and they were being funded by the government. Programs to defend gay and lesbian people. I mean, for goodness sake, we have gay marriage in the United States. We have initiatives for Native Americans, for people, indigenous people. We have talks of retribution or a restitution happening for people who had land. We have really good things that were going on, but they all cost money. And you've got some money grubbers now who are moving into power who say, well, they weren't worth what it costs. So they're just pulling the money rug right out from under everything.
Oh, don't worry about that. Donald Trump is on his way to Fort Knox. He's going to personally check that the gold is there.
Listen,
Honest to God, he said that.
I know he did. Well, I don't really, honestly, I don't think they should open the door, because next thing you know, he'll be. I mean, you saw the way he's been responding.
Putting it in cyber.
He's going to store
coins.
He'll store it in his bathroom along with all the.
Yeah. Oh, he loves it so much they should just shove him in and lock the door. That's it. Goodbye.
This is my gold. This is my gold.
And there it is, all for you.
Panama Canal is mine. Canada.
Oh, yes.
This is by Greenland. Yeah.
Greenland is mine. Mexico is mine. That
Look at child. He's like a baby.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Well, I've got a whole month ahead of me to think about all these things at night and pray. And then during the day, I can go to demonstrations. Because I'm sorry, I won't see you guys for Tuesdays for the next month. Because Ramadan comes in on Friday at sundown. So the whole month. But I'll be praying for you, and I'll see you on Wednesdays.
All right, good.
And maybe I'll go to a few thousand demonstrations.
All right. Well,
Make some clever signs and hug another demonstrator.
We'll listen for your prayers. We will. And,
Thank you.
Friday, February 28th, there are all kinds of instructions. Don't buy anything.
Yeah.
Right, no shopping.
Boycott day.
Yeah.
You shop at Target, don't go there. Don't go, there's a lot of, the whole list is online, you can see.
That's right.
Well, we're not supposed to shop anywhere on Friday, and then next week it's no Amazon for a week or so, yeah.
Yeah, oh, that'll be awful, won't it?
Right.
I like Amazon.
That's my biggest weakness.
Hardship.
We all have our weaknesses, right?
Exactly.
Barbara, what was that one again for next week? I don't remember. Which one?
It's the 28th is, no shopping, but
Yeah, but
next week is, it starts next Friday and it's for a week, no Amazon.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. You don't buy anything from Amazon, right?
Right.
But what if it's on,
On sale? No.
what if it's something that you get regularly?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
My bird seed.
Ah,
Oh, right.
Yeah, don't
well,
deprive
we'll
the
give
birds.
you special dispensation.
Let the birds eat.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
All right, my friends, I thank you for your energy and your conversation and for listening ears. Remember, the preacher this past Sunday said that the first instruction is to pray. It's to pray, and if you don't know what to pray, it was funny because I said, you know, Jesus' instruction was pretty clear. From the cross, he prayed, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And that marks out the unique. I had somebody come up to me because I said, if you don't know what to pray, pray this. Pray, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And somebody came up to me and said, I don't particularly like that prayer.
Oh.
And I said, well, you do know that's what Jesus prayed from the cross, right? And of course, then they go, oh. Oh, okay.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah,
Oh.
maybe that has
Well,
a
maybe
little
it
more.
was the word father.
Yeah, I know. The Father.
Maybe it was Brian, the life of Brian.
Yeah. All right, good night,
Oh,
my
God.
friends.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a
Good night,
good week.
Bye.
Thank
night,
you all.
everybody.
Makes it easier. Thank you.
Oh.
All right, good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.